city. We're here to make the change that need to be changed, and we can only do that through you and working together. I ask, oh Heavenly Father, that you speak through me and that you direct my steps. In your name I pray. Amen.
You're not here.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Ms. Johnson.
Here.
Ms. Nelson. Here. Mr. Green.
Present.
Ms. Fowler.
Here.
Mr. Millard.
Here.
Mr. Lovington.
Here.
Here. You have a forum. Approval of the meeting scheduled for a regular meeting held on January the 14th, 2025. I would ask that you allow the statement and the ayes to be read completely. I would ask for the motion, then I would ask for the second. Mr. Fowler, motion. Mr. Fowler, read the motion. Second by Ms. Millard. Public comments. Mr. White.
Yes, thank you, Madam
You're
President.
welcome.
My name is Mr. Cornelius Lawson White Jr. I live at 3638 10th Street in Alexandria, Louisiana, 71302. My phone number is area code 318-446-6934. Madam President and the council, I hope and pray, just like you're saying, that we'll have a good year and everything. We've got a little bit of a new council. And I hope that the council and you will be open to where we can have public discussion where the people will be able to say whether they have to, sign up or whatever. But years ago, we used to have public discussion. So I'm asking you, Madam President and the council.
Mr. White, I wanna.
No, we're not gonna argue.
No, we're not gonna argue, but this is to approve the minutes.
Yeah, I understand.
And, do you have anything to say about the minutes?
Yeah, I just would like for us to have some type of public, because we used to speak public.
And you
That's
will be able to speak up.
All right, thank you, man.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Mr. White.
Are you, let me ask you something. Is
Yes,
this the
sir.
first we've ever had an African-American
Yes.
female? Oh, well, see, with Black history and everything. So first time we ever had a Black female president.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Yeah, consent calendar. Number one, consider what ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted to transit hire lease agreements. Number two, introduction of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to renew the existing contract with janitorial cleaning and staffing or for janitorial services for water and lab testing.
Move.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask for the motion. So I need a motion
Move. Second.
and second. That's okay. You know, we need to get it together.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Fowler. I have a second by Mr. Johnson. And, any items to the committees?
Let's put two in legal.
G, resolution. Number three, resolution authorizing advertisement for bids of gas, ductile iron, and related accessories.
I need a motion, please. Second, please.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Fowler, a second by Councilman Johnson. Any public comments? Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number four, resolution authorizing advertisement for bid for operating supplies for the wastewater department.
Motion, please. Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Felcher and a second by Councilman Millard. Any public comments? Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 5, resolution authorizing advertisement for bids for operating supplies for the gas department.
Need a motion, please? I need a second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd, second by Mr. Johnson. Public comments? Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
8, ordinances for final adoption, subject to public hearing. Number 6, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for statewide flood control capital improvement project, Augusta Avenue, Fairground, Machine Shop, flood control. Madam President, the administration is requesting that this item be delayed for 2 weeks, and we just need a motion and a second to delay this.
Madam Clerk, can we check, make sure? Who sent that down, if you don't mind me asking?
We received it, Mayor, but it was late.
Oh, you, okay, good, got it. Excuse me.
So we have a motion to delay.
We need a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Johnson, and a second by Councilman Arnett. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 7, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for Gulf fuel for vehicles and equipment for use by various departments. Madam President, the administration is requesting that this item be delayed for 2 weeks, and we need a motion and a second to delay it.
Your motion to delay. Second,
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Lizzie and second by Mr. Lloyd. Comments? Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 8, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to promote the city of Alexandria by entering into all contracts with bands and vendors for 2025 events and other matters with respect thereto.
Need a motion?
Move.
A second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Lloyd, a second by Councilwoman Felter. Public comments? Mr. Watt?
No, okay, that's not true.
Okay. I see that.
Any public comments? Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Number 9, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to declare certain items surplus and no longer needed or used by city departments to be sold at a public auction scheduled for Saturday, March 1st, 2025.
I need a motion, please.
Move.
A second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Lloyd. Public comments?
Yes, Mayor. That's just,
Discussion?
that's me, okay. No, Mayor, it's option B.
That's auction block, it's a fine auction. Hold on, we're killing.
Now, I. She does all right about doing the bridge. I mean, that's some folks that can still. Okay. We sold quite a few items, a lot of items.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the time that you do some stuff.
Yeah, she does, the auctioneer does the advertising, and it's on their website.
You go to the website?
It's on that.
What time did the website?
They have
I'm trying to look it up. I'm trying to get it.
Well, I mean, I just want to state it because people are listening to this meeting that they might want to know what the time is. So,
Any more discussion?
Yeah, Madam President. Who compiles this list, please?
Purchasing department when it's declared surplus with the.
All right, Mr. Johnson, this year. I went through this list and I saw surplus furniture items and other miscellaneous items, and there are several that are marked excellent condition. They couldn't have been transferred to another department. When I see good, scrap, poor, when I get to excellent, I want to know what's up.
Some stuff may be surplus that no one picked over. That's typically what happens. It lands in surplus. City departments pick it up. If no one does, it winds up going off.
Would it also just be simply, like I'm looking on page 5 at a Canon camera with 5, it's excellent condition. But if they move to a higher end camera and better resolution and new things, they have something that's excellent, they'll put it up for auction because it's no longer the standard and they no longer use it.
And no one else needs it in the city.
Looks for less than it's more. Yeah.
lots of, lots of vehicles.
I have a question. So, just going back to my budget work, once we do the auction, the funds come back to where?
The city.
It's still on front, and put it back, so I will see those funds somewhere on the next report.
On miscellaneous revenue, that's one of the.
Okay,
things.
that's why I thought, but it goes back to miscellaneous.
It goes back to the fund where it originated, Mr. Johnson. The utility truck is sold as surplus until the fund gets the money back.
Gotcha.
Oh,
And if it's like other parts of the operating, it'll have a miscellaneous and it'll show there.
right.
And, oh, no, I'm good. And what happens to the items that don't sell?
They're typically disposed of. State law requires you to try to sell it. Some things don't have much market.
9 a.m.
9 a.m., all right? Okay, 9 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I saw in the audience, Mr. Rick Horton just stated that the auction is 9 a.m. on March 1st. So,
All right.
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Horton.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Item number 10, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the 2024-2025 major budget amendment.
Need a motion, please.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fowles, second by Mr. Johnson. Public comments? Mr. White.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome.
I know y'all had the discussion about all this stuff. I was just wondering, is there anything about the audit? Do we get a chance to hear about that sometime? 'Cause I'm just asking. I understand we got the budget, but how is the audit then?
We haven't, got the audit report, Mr. White.
Oh, y'all haven't got it?
We do.
Okay, I was just asking, because like I said, do you know exactly when the audit's gonna be or anything like that? No, okay.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 11, to consider final adoption of an ordinance committing additional city funds to the LWI Chapman Lake Backwater Overflow Structure to the Red River LWI 0192.
Motion, please.
Move.
Second. Second. I have a motion by Councilman Ward, a second by Councilman Felcher. Public comments? Mr. White?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
You welcome.
On this, on the Chaplain Lake, is this the project that was started under Mayor Hall with Pan American?
Yes.
Okay, so it's finally gonna be worked on now, right?
Yes, sir.
It's kind of going on longer than that.
Yes.
That's 20, so,
Long time.
so I know we're gonna have some, they said on News Channel 5 Thursday, maybe a flood event. So are we preparing for that for Thursday?
I'm sure.
It's always,
Too.
always.
Okay, okay.
Okay, well, I just wanna make sure, I'd like to see them city trucks going out, you know, picking up limbs and stuff and cutting back trees. And we did a good job, you know, for the winter storm that came last week.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Wright. Thank you.
Madam,
All in favor? Discussion. I'm sorry, Mr. Green.
no problem. The project went from 11 million to $19 million, $8 million increase in how many years and what did they incur that cost us $8 million more?
The cost of building a project this size, it's probably one of the biggest in the city right now. Has gone up astronomically in the post-COVID and then even events since COVID. But, you will note that this is an increase by the grantor. So there's a grant increase. We're only providing $1 million additional from the city to meet that grant increase. Right before you came on, Mr. Green, we had a couple of discussions at budgets, with Ms. Perry. It's her district. First of all, this is a citywide important project, although it drastically, of course, affects, her district. It also is about flow of water through the whole city that goes that way. Second of all, the idea was to try to ride this out as long as we can for the very reason of your astute question, which is that as things keep increasing, we felt like we had to make a decision with Ms. Perry about whether to stay on this one and add a little more money to try to get us finally the Chapman over that way even into the river and think about how to do that, or to break this up into a bunch of smaller projects. And I think that we settled on the idea that we were gonna ride this out a little longer. We had a couple of different meetings, budget meetings and others, and made that election. I would still recommend, even though I do see risk, I don't know if you were touching on that, I do see the risk of continued increasing costs to do this project, where there would come a day when you might make a different decision as the appropriating body, but I would not recommend you do it today, because think how many years it took us to get here was even before Mr. Hall. Probably versions of it were before, were all the way into Ned's administration. This idea of doing this has been around. We've never had this much money allocated for it through grants. I would suggest we stick with it a little bit longer.
And I think that I'm not hard for this, to see people flooding, and see people in their homes. This is a project that I know that is well needed in my district. And so I am definitely gonna back it.
Well, really, and like the mayor said, like we said, it affects the whole city, because if our water is coming towards you, the quicker we get it out, to stop, this is just not, for one district, it will flowing through the city, so this is a big project, and it'll release some of my, water in Martin Park,
The vast majority of water leaving the city hits the channel.
Right.
Just think of it as standing over, on Bayou Rapids Road, behind the Red River, Chapel Bayou, behind RAB. So Menards here, keep going behind RAB. Imagine you're on that levee. There's a little control structure right there. So that one goes to the Red River. It's usually where its flow is not an issue for us. The rest of it can flow the other way down the diversion canal, right? It goes on the side of Windermere through Charles Park, goes all the way out. Most of the water, other than those two, there's one exception in the city. Everywhere else, from horseshoe drainage, everywhere else y'all can think of, it's the Chapman. And ultimately, they all converge together after that area into the Bayou Cortavla area of where Port Barry is, Bayou Cortavla, and then on to the Chapelog and on to the Gulf. That's how it all goes.
And I had yeah, my husband gave me a good lesson on
Chapman carries most of the water in the city.
Yes.
End of the,
And
so
he
this would
lets me know
relieve
that
some of the.
every time it rains.
So, what else could be done in the event what we're doing here tonight?
Well, so that's a great question. I think if Mr. Davi were here, I could quote him, because I've heard it 1,000 times. It's all a tax choice we make in America, in a community. You could allocate forever. What you can't do is raise houses that are below the floodplain unless you have a program to do it, grants, et cetera. One thing I would say, Mr. Lawberdane, and you see it happen, in Gary's district on Spencer Street, people got tired of dealing with it any other way, and there's a bunch of raised houses on the corner of Spencer and what is it that goes in Millmore? That area is the second or first lowest point in the city. The other one would be Windermere, right at the dip at McAdams Ditch. Both of those are roughly around 67 feet. Base flood elevation in our city is 72 point something, 3. So base flood elevation, DFE is 72. Those two areas are that much lower than the city, than where they should be. Maybe if you think about Greenway Park, which is out of the city, that weird spot that's out of the city behind Havertys. And there's one other area that, well, Penny Acres is another example. It's in the parish and takes some water. All those places have different issues, but right behind, behind, is it the Lowe's right there? What is the major superstore on? Home Depot. Behind Home Depot and that area going behind Brain. So these are your troughs, if you will. Behind and into Brain, behind there. Spencer and that part of Martin Park. This low area on Windermere, those are the 3 really lowest spots. Plantation Acres, Plantation Acres. So how the city would fix that is you're gonna always be hammered to put more money and do different things, but at some point, nature and gravity will beat just about everything that man can hydraulically move, unless you just spend money enough to somehow get that water out before it hits, and it really is tough. So some people have looked at programs where you buy a house out. I have always said that at least the last 2 houses, 2 or 3 on Spencer, the better program would be to buy that property and build it up. But before we ever got to that point, I think the folks that owned it were like, I got this, they raised it. And the one on the corner, if you go see, it's raised, it's way up in the air. So there were programs that do that, but those are your lowest spots. The Chapman, West Sandy Bayou, all that different. That ground moves all kind of ways. The West Sandy Bayou is one of the few places you'll ever see that can flow and contraflow. Depending on what's happening, it can run 2 lanes. I've seen it a million times do it. It's wild to see. And so all of this program ultimately would move that water that's all out in District 3 from the rest of the city hitting it faster into other tables where it could be, the river would be the main one, then to continue to have that glut going through only the Chaplain system. We also have farmers who block the Chaplain down in the Voles.
Yes.
They put weirs, they put dams, they do all kind of things to control water flow, which backs it up. If it's not clean, snagged and stuff properly, all of that creates dams, beavers, everything else that can keep it back up. Bridges,
Now,
private bridges over, hunting bridges.
does the city have an overall program to deal with flood?
100%. And so what we do, we just went over those areas. If you look at that operation clean out that we did coming back in, spent $1 million doing that. One of the biggest things we do is keep the structures clear. Mr. White, Cornelius White, who said that. Thing you want to do is before a known storm, you can't do it every time. You know a big storm's coming, you go out and clean it a lot, more than normal. Rabbit runs everything, and you especially go to the areas where you know things pack up. We have a very poor understanding as a community of keeping our own roadways clean. So Reed Street, other areas where there are a ton of older trees, lots of pine straw, lots of different things that fall, that will clump up at a catch basin. And someone will think, look, my street is flooding. Why is it flooding? I know I'm in the highest part of the city. Why is it doing it? Well, because there's a cat, it's damming. And so or a garbage bag will float literally down a gutter and block it. We as a community have to watch that, watch for our neighbors, and go pick that up if we can. But we do have a system to do it, and Alex Connects, I would stress more than ever, use Alex Connect. If you see something, say something about it, and we'll try to get out there. The city has some high points, but there's a few low places. I saw in the last big storm, I try to use them to measure things, that we avoided flooding in houses. There was water kept in streets, except one spot, I hate to say his name, but at Charles's house on Augusta, that low area about 14 continues to have a big problem. It's the only one left area that the work hadn't caught up, and that project is here to throw water over that back levee, and it will serve anywhere from 10 to 20 houses that need it.
So,
It could make a difference in a storm.
so after the improvements are made that are outlined in item number 11, what's after that? What do we have?
We'll have a list, and I will be happy to get you just our drainage list so you can see all the projects in the sheet. Mr. Lawberdane, I weigh drainage projects, number ones, so in our priority system, a P1 or a P2 will be drainage. The only difference in a P1 and a P2 is a P1 is a P2 that's in the money, meaning all the grant money's there, we're ready to go. If not, you could still be a top project, but if there's not all the money available, it could be a P2. Then there's a P3 and a P indeterminate.
What's the next P2 we got?
I don't know offhand, but I'll get you a list. And it's easy, it's in your budget. If you go in the budget, you'll see most, you can look at them by years, but I keep a separate list that has the ratings of those projects.
What are the issues?
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Number 12, to consider final adoption of the ordinance authorizing the mayor to agreement with the Manor House regarding the Manor House program, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Annika Women's All-School Day Tournament scheduled for April the 2nd, 2025 at Winston Park.
Motion, please.
Move.
Second.
So,
I have a motion by Mr. Fowler. I'm sorry, correction. Motion by Mr. Lloyd, second by Mr. Fowler. Public comments? Discussion?
One thing, I heard a rumor that, Ms. Arnold Sorensen will be coming in for this tournament. She's the Hall of Fame, probably the most famous female golfer ever, and she's supposed to be coming in for this tournament. Big round of She played with a few men's tournaments also. Well,
So, Ms. Lawrence's picking up on, we don't normally contribute, because Manor House, we do a lot with, but
they do a lot for us.
right, and they do a lot for us. So the difference here, it's a great question, and it's different than probably 100%. We're in this one, because the management of the golf course as an enterprise fund is done by a private party. We elected to do it in a manner where we're making an inter-fund transfer with this. So what we would normally do to run our part of it, we're handling because it's a private company running it, so that the accounting is clear for you guys and for the audit. And David can explain more his thoughts on that if you don't mind.
I thought we were offering chairs and.
No, we'll have all that because we own it, so we can put things out there, but we have a value in the,
Yes.
of that
we'll
money.
recognize the revenue at the golf course as it would almost an arm's length transaction.
We're treating our enterprise fund as though it's a private sector party we're doing business with, again, to account because it's a proprietary fund. I'm pushing that in everything we do. If we have an enterprise fund, I want it to be treated like an enterprise fund should be. It's supposed to make money, figure out how to do it right. It's different from the city proper, which is regular operations, your tax dollars pay for it. That's being run, it should be taking in revenue, running its services, et cetera. What you do for it is the capital side. It ain't a bad deal to get that golf running business if it's damn hard to do it right. And that course is great.
That's what they're doing, is whatever they charge,
We're taking away the green fees.
particularly bean fees, this is what they're about.
So that the people raising the money for Manor House and all that aren't, we're taking away the green fee stuff. But we're doing it, normally we just would tell them, don't charge it, but because they're
Yeah.
an enterprise fund, we want that to be accounted for, so we can see that book and audit them and see how the money went.
But ultimately, the city will make money off this.
Oh, yeah.
Jim says, oh, yeah.
We'll have $100 here for a whole week, spending money every day.
Yeah, and so, Mr. Caffrey, just want me to remind you, it is part of a corporate endeavor that is in general for the stuff we do. We volunteer there, they do a lot. There are many deliverables they meet back, as Garrett was saying. So they're feeding people, and house does a lot, but they're doing a whole host of deliverables in their contract. This is one thing we're doing in exchange for those deliverables.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Trey has a, announcement, a public announcement.
We have an announcement of a public meeting. Notice is hereby given that it's meeting to be held on Tuesday, February the 25th, 2025, at 5 p.m. at its regular meeting place. The City Council Chambers, first floor, City Hall, 915 3rd Street, Alexandria, Louisiana. The City Council of the City of Alexandria, State of Louisiana, plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in the City of Alexandria, State of Louisiana, to authorize the renewal of an ad valorem tax therein.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Chairman.